Hey everyone, it's Wilco here, and just this morning I was thinking about how I got started in business like years and years back, and how I did something purely by accident that helped me get a lot more customers through the door and actually helped me get the word out, which I think is such an underrated strategy that a lot of business owners are just not using as much as they should. So that's why I wanted to share that with all of you today, so you can implement into your business, into your marketing, to basically get more customers, to get more people into your world, whatever you do. So this all started, like my whole business kind of journey started when I was actually 16 years old. This seems like ages ago. While I'm recording this, I am 34. Time flies. Yes, I'm 34 already. So when I was 16, there was no such thing as like e-commerce or anything like that, right? Like people didn't buy stuff online yet. Like I remember like when I was gonna buy something online, when I was trying that, my parents literally said, they literally believed that if you did that, your PC would get a virus. We didn't have all the easy payment solutions. We didn't have, Shopify, any of that stuff, right? So at that point, I was looking for, I was a big fan, as a 16-year-old boy, I was a big fan of the movie The Matrix. And like in that movie, every character has their own pair of sunglasses. And I was like, oh, cool, I want to have one of those as well. But unfortunately, here in the Netherlands, they were nowhere to be found. Like there was no place where I could actually buy those sunglasses. So I started looking online, and I found a company in the US. I looked at the pricing structure and all that, and the shipment costs, and they was just crazy expensive. And again, like I was a 16-year-old boy, like zero money, I was not able to afford the shipment cost, because the shipment cost was actually way more expensive than the actual sunglasses, right? So what I did next is actually, I was like, hey, maybe there's other people who want to have those sunglasses as well, right? So what I did is I put up an ad online, and it's like a Dutch equivalent, kind of like eBay-ish, but it was all centered around you can actually sell stuff that you don't have yet, in a way, right? So what I did is I actually created a campaign, or created a product page, whatever they call it, where I basically said like, hey, I want to buy those sunglasses from The Matrix, and if you want to buy them as well, then you can buy them from me, right? I'll basically get multiple people to do like a group buy. I think that would be the best way to describe it. Do like a group buy. So first step one, you order the sunglasses from me, you pay me because I didn't have the money up front, then I collect everyone's money, and then I'll do the one group buy in, from the US, so we can actually, we actually handle all the, like we can do it in one box, and like shipment is cheaper and all that. What I did not expect is that within, I think, a month or so, I literally got for 17,000 euros worth of sunglass orders, like 17,000 euros. Like that's what I actually received on my bank account from all random different people that I didn't know, buying sunglasses, again, for like, I think like 4 or 5-ish euro each. So you can imagine, I had to talk to my parents who were not a fan of buying anything online, and told them like I just received 17,000 euros worth of sunglasses, which they were responsible for because I was a minor at the time. Again, I was 16 years old. They didn't like it at first, but they are entrepreneurs as well, so they fully supported it. I still remember to this day, like we had to pay the money to transfer to the US through FedEx, and we had to do that physically. So we literally had to bring the cash physically to the store right here in the Netherlands, so they would then do the wire transfer. So I literally had over 10,000 euros, which was a crazy amount of money, had it physically in my hands. I had my parents on both sides, one on my left, one on the side of my mom and my dad on the left, and we walked into the shop to transfer that money, right? But the interesting thing is like, how did that all happen? Like how did I, as a 16-year-old boy, got thousands of people to buy a sunglass from me? It was not because I knew anything about marketing, because I didn't, right? I learned all about marketing after that, right? But I was thinking about it this morning, what that actually, what triggered that, and what I did do at that campaign, which I did not do intentionally at all. But on the campaign page where I like sold the sunglasses, I didn't just say like, hey, buy your sunglasses here. I didn't just say like, hey, here's a sunglass from The Matrix, go get it. No, I actually told them the story of like who I was, because I knew like I needed to get some trust, or at least in my mind, I needed to get some trust from those people to be able to do that. So I literally told them the whole story of who I was and why I created it. Like I had been looking all over for these sunglasses, they were nowhere to be found. I literally told them all about the story behind it. What obviously helped me a lot at that point is that I was a 16-year-old kid, right? And a lot of people, they just, looking backwards, they just sort of cheered on that. Like if I see an entrepreneur from like 16-year-old, immediately want to throw money at them because I support that so much. Like I love entrepreneurship and I love people when they start that journey. So I can only imagine that others would do the same thing. So yes, I definitely had an edge there. I definitely had an advantage there that I was only 16-year-old. But the important part is, and the important takeaway from this is that if you're only selling your product and that's it, and you don't share the story behind it, you are missing out. You're missing out big time. I mean, I'm not sure if you have read the book Start With Why from Simon Sinek. If you haven't, highly recommend it. But basically what he's saying is like, people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. And I know there's such a big truth inside of that, right? So start sharing that story. If you have an email list, send out emails, tell that story why you do what you do, tell the story who you are. And even if you think you're nothing special, there's something special about it. Like everyone is unique in their own sense. Like, and sure, you cannot maybe cherish on the fact that you're like 16-year-old and that's your unique angle. No, sure, of course not. But there's other things that make you unique because there's something that led you to the point where you're currently at today. If you're selling something, if you have a business, if you want to get customers in, don't just talk about what your product does. Don't just talk about what your service does, or like how it helps your customer, but also talk about the story behind it. Who are you as the founder? Who are you? How did you come up with that product? How did you run into the issue yourself? Like how did it impact your life? There's two reasons why I'm shooting this very video outside. First of all, because I like being outside. Secondly, it's also like I can also do it all in our studio, right? Like right now, this is the house where I live in, and in that building, I got the studio and the top floor. I could do that, and the video would probably look a lot slicker, but it's not personal, right? Like now you actually see, like for example, right here, you can see if you're watching the video, you could see a small swimming pool for the little one. We have a little one who's just almost 1.5 years old now, right? And stuff like that. Like that's part of my personal life, which you don't have to show. It doesn't help you in your marketing, doesn't help you in your business, but in a way, by showing your personality and showing what your private life is all about, it helps building that connection as well, right? Maybe some of you are like, but I'm not into kids at all. Well, maybe you're into sheep. We got those as well, right? And again, this is not part of the actual story, but just being personal and sharing your story with the world, it does help a lot. Just like it did for me when I started selling sunglasses at age 16. And by the way, fun fact, in case you're thinking like that's what I hit, even though I got 70,000 euros worth of sunglasses, what I did not know about is that there's also things like taxes and all kind of other crappy stuff. So altogether, I actually made a loss out of that. But at the same time, it's actually the best win I've ever had because I learned so much in that process. And every year, ever since that time, every summer, I did the same thing. I imported all kinds of sunglasses. I got my friends to help package everything because with thousands of sunglasses, literally the whole house was covered with boxes. It was crazy, like crazy. And again, all because of the story. And if your story is good, and that's one last thing, just to demonstrate how powerful this is, right? The story makes people, they buy the story. And to illustrate that, I remember a couple of people, there were multiple people who did this, who bought my sunglasses, right? For, again, they were a couple of euros each. And then they didn't want me to ship it over, but instead they wanted to come and pick it up. Now, I lived back in the day in a very rural area, so the closest train station was around, I think a 30-minute walk. Those people came by train, right? Then walked away all the way over to my house just to experience it and just to me hand over their sunglasses themselves because I wanted to see that, right? And then they walked all the way back 30 minutes to the train and then took the train back home. They would never do that if they would just buy sunglasses for a couple of euros because there's no emotional value in it. But they didn't buy the sunglasses. They bought the experience of hey, helping this 16-year-old kid, doing this. And that was really, I didn't realize it at the time, but looking backwards, the fact that I added that story, the fact that I shared, I'm 16-year-old, where I live, what I came from, what I do. I even included things like what I do as a hobby. I literally wrote a story of who I am, so people knew this is who you're doing business with, right? And that's been super effective for sure. So hopefully this helps you. Hopefully you'll apply this in your business and marketing as well. And I hope you have an amazing day. Bye-bye. And if you like this, please do make sure to leave a review or a comment. I would really appreciate that. Talk soon.